talking about how artificial intelligence is now making new inroads in the technological industry and the sector. And AI does not necessarily mean artificial intelligence. It also means America and India. There are funny tones, serious tones, there are emotional tones, and some passionate tones in the way the Prime Minister has been addressing, giving speeches all across those events, right from the Future Scale event at the National Science Foundation, and then followed by a rival ceremony right in front of the White House. So many Indians that were allowed inside the South Lawns of the White House, and then his address to the US Congress, and finally the visuals that we're seeing right now, everybody beautifully decked up for this state dinner, a gourmet take on millets. It's the year of millets here back in India. The theme is peacock, which is the national bird of India, in honor of His Excellency the Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi. So many celebrities that have thronged the White House over the last couple of hours. We've been getting constant images. You've been looking at those Twitter accounts as well. What are some of the celebrities that are in attendance over here? We know that Mr. Ambani is for sure there.
We have achievers in the US. We have Mrs. Indra Nooyi. We had Satya Nadella. We also had Sundar Pichai. Most of the tech giants were there, and we also had Mukesh Ambani as well, along with his wife. And it was a power-packed, in fact, kind of system that we are looking at, where we did see guests not only ranging from the Indian American community and especially achievers, but also from the entire vast network of Indian celebrities were present there. The guests who were arriving also came from the American fields of science and technology, and at the same time we had the Indian ambassador, the ambassador to India from the US, Garcetti, also taking part in this state dinner. And several of them, in fact, they have all said that this is a very big day for them, as well as a defining moment in India's relationship with the United States. We also had the Speaker of the US Congress also arriving.
Kevin McCarthy.
The US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken was also present at the dinner, or rather is present at the dinner, because this is still going on. And so all of them who have been some of the people who have been trying to forward this relationship, all of them who are technically what I would call as the stakeholders in creating this huge successful.
There's a live orchestra that you can see behind that's playing those tunes. Unfortunately, we won't be able to play out those tunes because of copyright issues. But the beautiful tunes that they're playing, right from the full military honors that the Prime Minister got when he arrived at the White House for various events. Even then, the music has been on point. There was a proper entire brass band, full of flutists and nobody else. Then the brass band, the US Navy brass band, is again one of those top-notch brass bands in the entire world. So music on full, public display. You've got lavish food on display, hints of saffron. A lot of people wearing saffron dresses also. Varghese, I'm taking a look at that. You know what? There's a quick reaction of the Prime Minister at the state dinner. There's a little toast, the camaraderie, the friendship that we've spoken about over the last couple of days between Joe Biden, the President of the United States, talking about jet technologies, talking about, the sale of drones, closer defensive ties. There's a toast that happened. Take a look at that.
Prosperity and the pursuit of happiness, to liberty, equality, and fraternity, and to the everlasting bonds of friendship between India and the United States. Cheers. Cheers. Thank you. Enjoy your meal.
To part in. You know what? Let's take a look at that once again. Let's take a look at that. Hear that toast once again.
A toast to good health, prosperity, and the pursuit of happiness, to liberty, equality, and fraternity, and to the everlasting bonds of friendship between India and the United States. Cheers. Cheers. Thank you.
Well, so that was the toast. Now, the Prime Minister also said that, with every passing day, Indians and Americans are getting to know each other better. Kids in India become Spider-Man on Halloween, and America's youth is dancing to the tunes of Natu Natu. So, again talking about how these two countries, the oldest democracy and the largest democracy, are actually closer than people actually thought about it. Funnily and interestingly at the same time, the Prime Minister also said that amidst the love for baseball, cricket is also getting popular in the United States. The American team is trying their best to qualify for the Cricket World Cup to be held in India later this year. The Prime Minister wished them good luck and success. This coming from the Prime Minister during the official state dinner at the White House. And earlier we were, looking at those visuals of how the three leaders, the First Lady, the POTUS, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, coming down those stairs, the iconic stairs of the White House. Take a look at that. And also beautifully dressed, I mean, this is nothing short of a Met Gala or a New York Fashion Week, is it, Varghese?
Well, it doesn't seem to be something like that, but this is, of course, one of those very huge aspects of a state visit that we are looking at. And when it comes to the US state dinner, it is something that is very ceremonial and reserved only for very close allies of the United States. And of course, the Prime Minister had visited the United States quite often and has seen three presidents, but this is the first time he is being accorded a state visit, which is to distinguish him from the other world leaders as well. So it's a huge celebration with regard to India-US ties that we are seeing in with regard to the warming of the ties between them. And as you were rightly pointing out, well, it is also in many of his speeches, he has said that it is the people who are the strength of the friendship, and therefore it is the bond of friendship we are looking at trying to advance it as a cooperation of democracies. So both the oldest modern democracy, as we would like to call the United States, and the largest democracy has finally seemed to have broken the ice, and they have been able to bring the next phase into the relationship, keeping aside some of the historical nature of our existence when it came to international relations governed by the factors of that day. But now it seems that this has become one of the, what I would call the watershed moments in India's relationship with the United States.
The Prime Minister also said that, Indian Americans have come a long way in the United States and have always found a respectful place in America's melting pot. Probably could have given the United States President Joe Biden a saffron-colored suit and it'd be a proper tricolor over there. But that's exactly what I was talking about. The music from the brass band, that's something I'm completely in awe of. But coming back to what the Prime Minister said during his speech at the state dinner, and we'll play out excerpts from that speech in just a short while. He says, in the United States, the Indian Americans have come a long way and have always found a respectful place in America's melting pot. Indian Americans have played a significant role in further strengthening the inclusive society and economy of the United States, something that he's been saying everywhere. at the future skilling event, at his arrival ceremony at the White House, the joint press statement after the bilateral meeting. He said it time and again that the 4 million plus population of the Indian community, the Indian American community in the United States, that's the glue that has kept these two countries actually together. Do you see this number rising, Varghese? Do you see the significance of this particular community, this 4 million plus Indian American community, and the Samosa caucus that the Prime Minister also spoke about? They're saying it's the new flavor of the White House. It's the Samosa caucus. Do you think more of Indian cuisines and diversity will impact American politics later in the day?
Well, it's already impacting. I mean, you have Kamala Harris as the vice president of that country, and you have significant Indian origin politicians who are already there in both the parties, whether it's Democrat or the Republicans, and they hold very important positions in this. And Indian Americans, as I told you, has always been a very successful group that has been attending when it comes to the United States. Of course, these are the guests who are coming for the dinner, people from different cross sections of society as well.
Different celebrities, of course, Ambani also invited, a lot of state leaders, a lot of congressmen, a lot of congresswomen, and of course celebrities as well, business tycoons.
In fact, as they're coming in, their names are being announced as they are brought in. I think we should just play with a little bit of what exactly is happening, because it's all part of that, the ritual.
Ms. Jane Fraser and Mr. Alberto Piedra. Dr. Suresh Kaur and Dr. Renu Kaur. Mr. Rajesh Subramaniam, Ms. Maria Teresa Kumar and Mr. Raj Kumar. The Honorable Salman Ahmad and Ms. Kat Davis Ahmad. The Honorable Vinay Reddy and Ms. Nilima Reddy. Mr. Michael Shrum and Ms. Maya Rao. Mr. Martin Luther King III and Mrs. Andrea Waters King. And Mrs. Vidya Iyer. Dr. Sudhir Saksaria. The Honorable Shri Srinivasan and Ms. Chitra Wadwani. Mr. Max Kennedy. Mr. Maxwell Taylor Kennedy and Mrs. Vicky S. Kennedy. The Honorable Ben LeBolt. Mr. Michael Cohen and Dr. Darylyn Samuels. The Honorable Dr. Geeta Rao Gupta and Mr. Arvind Gupta. Mr. Nat Simons and Mrs. Laura Baxter Simons. Mr. Josh Beckenstein and Ms. Anita Beckenstein. The Honorable Catherine Tai, U.S. Trade Representative, and Mr. Robert Skidmore. Mr. Alfred F. Kelly Jr. and Ms. Margaret P. Kelly. Mr. John Morgan and Mr. Matt Morgan. Mr. Jay Shetty and Mr. Richard Slavin.
Well, so those are the celebrities. Just a few of them, of course, haven't really played out the entire clip. The number of Indians in that particular list, the number of Indian costumes that you got to see, really shows the confluence between the two countries, doesn't it, Varghese?
Well, it does show, and it also shows the power that the Indian caucus has when it comes to the presence that they have created in the United States. They are very well integrated into the power structures of the United States, as well as with the business and high-tech centers in the United States. So rightfully what the Prime Minister said is that our people are our strength, and the Indian diaspora has been the force multiplier for Indian diplomacy as well, because the countries that they go, they have made a very good impression on all of them, and they have been hardworking, they have been enterprising, and they have succeeded, and most of them I'm sure will have great tales to tell about how from immigrant parents and from being new immigrants to how they build their businesses. They have fantastic stories to in fact tell, and when at the state dinner you're acknowledging them as well, and it is also a highlight about how this diaspora, as we call it, is become the force multiplier that we are looking at when it comes to India's relationship with the United States, and probably the glue that would also further strengthen the relationship between both countries.
The Prime Minister also said at the dinner event that this evening is made special by the presence of the people of our two countries. They are our most precious assets. When we met in Japan for the Quad Summit, you mentioned a problem that you were facing. I'm sure that you must have resolved that problem. I hope you were able to fit in everyone who wanted to come for the dinner tonight, says the Prime Minister at the official state dinner. It's a lavish display. At the media preview, Dr. Jill Biden, the First Lady of the United States, she did give the entire world a little bit of a preview, a sneak peek, and also, funnily said that this is the closest you're going to come to tasting this food. We know what the menu is. We're looking at the celebrities enjoying it. Let's also listen in to what the Prime Minister had to say at his speech during the official state dinner.
आप सबको नमस्कार। आज के शानदार रात्रि भोज के आयोजन के लिए मैं प्रेसिडेंट बाइडेन के प्रति हृदय से आभार प्रकट करता हूं। मैं डॉक्टर जिल बाइडेन का विशेष रूप से आभारी हूं कि उन्होंने मेरी यात्रा को सफल बनाने के लिए निजी रूप से इतना ध्यान दिया, इतने प्रयास किए। आज के भव्य आयोजन के लिए मैं उनका हृदय से अभिनंदन करता हूं।
President Biden, First Lady Dr. Jill Biden, distinguished guests, good evening. First of all, I thank President Biden for this wonderful dinner today. My special thanks to Dr. Jill Biden for her personal efforts and attention in making my visit a success. I would also like to express my gratitude to her for the magnificent organization of today's event.
कल शाम आपने अपने घर के दरवाजे मेरे लिए खोले। इस स्पेशल जेस्चर के लिए आपकी मित्रता और गर्मजोशी भरे आदर सत्कार के लिए भी मैं आपका हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभारी हूं।
Yesterday evening, you opened the doors of your house to me. I am deeply grateful to you for this special gesture, for your friendship and warm hospitality.
Well, now the Prime Minister also spoke to the everybody in attendance on the India-US relations. Something that he threw light upon towards the end of the state dinner as well. Let's listen into that reaction as well.
मैं भारत अमेरिका संबंधों के बारे में और अधिक नहीं बोलना चाहता। आज ये मेरा 5वां संबोधन है या शायद 6ठा। मैंने तो वाकई गिनना भी छोड़ दिया है।
I don't want to speak too much about India-US relations because I know this is my 5th speech for the day, or maybe it's the 6th. As you can see, I really have lost count.
Mr. President, जब आपने 2014 में मेरे लिए बैंक्वेट रखा था, उस दौरान संयोग से मैं नवरात्रि के 9 दिन के मेरे फास्ट चल रहे थे। मुझे याद है आप बार बार मुझसे पूछ रहे थे कि मैं व्रत के दौरान क्या कुछ भी नहीं खाऊंगा, लेकिन मेरे लिए कुछ भी खाना संभव नहीं था। मैं कुछ खा नहीं रहा था और जिसकी वजह से आप बहुत ही कंसर्न भी थे। उस समय मुझे प्रेम से कुछ खिलाने की आपकी जो इच्छा थी, मुझे लगता है आज वो पूरी हो रही है।
Mr. President, in 2014, when you had hosted a banquet for me, at that time I was observing a 9-day religious fast. And I remember you were asking me again and again what I could eat during my fast. But it was not possible for me to eat anything. And you were quite concerned about it. Well, today I'm making up for it. All that you desired at that time with so much affection is being fulfilled today.
इंडियन अमेरिकन लोगों ने अमेरिका में बहुत लंबी यात्रा तय की है। भारतीय मूल्यों, भारत के लोकतांत्रिक परंपराओं और हमारी संस्कृति के गौरव से भरे हुए इन लोगों को अमेरिका के मेल्टिंग पॉट में निरंतर मान सम्मान मिला है। भारतीय मूल के लोगों ने अमेरिका के समावेशी समाज और अर्थव्यवस्था को और मजबूत बनाने में बहुत बड़ी भूमिका निभाई है।
Indian Americans have come a long way in the US. They are proud of India's values, democratic traditions, and culture, and have always found a respectful place in America's melting pot. Indian Americans have played a significant role in further strengthening the inclusive society and economy of the US.
Mr. President, आज की शाम को और अधिक खास बनाते हैं हमारे साथ उपस्थित दोनों देशों के सभी महानुभाव, लोकतंत्र और विविधता के मूल्यों को जीवन में साकार करते ये लोग हमारी सबसे कीमती पूंजी है।
Mr. President, this evening is made special by the presence of the people of our two countries. Bringing the values of democracy and diversity to life, they are our most precious assets.
आपने जापान में हम जब बैठे थे क्वाड के समिट में, तब आपने अपना एक प्रॉब्लम मुझे कहा था और आपके लंबे सार्वजनिक जीवन के अनुभव को देखते हुए मुझे विश्वास है कि आपने उस प्रॉब्लम का समाधान कर लिया होगा और जितने लोग यहां आना चाहते थे आप उन सभी को यहां पर फिट कर पाए होंगे।
When we met in Japan for the Quad Summit, you mentioned a problem that you were facing. Well, looking at the vast experience of your long public life, I'm sure that you must have resolved that problem. I hope you were able to fit in everyone who wanted to come tonight.
Well, so there is a little bit of a humorous side between these two leaders as well. Or is that, a bit to overshadow, take the people's opinion away from the hefty deals that were really high on agenda, what's really happening, trying to, do away from the China questions, from the human rights questions. Is that so, or is that camaraderie really real between these two leaders?
Well, the camaraderie is real because, as you say, that the interaction between both of them have been on several fronts. One is when it came to Quad. There are other meetings as well when it comes to G20. There have been several interactions between both Biden as well as Prime Minister Modi, and probably, I think, what we see today is the culmination of a long-drawn effort on the part of both the countries to actually bring forward the idea of it's time that both the democracies go ahead and cooperate on several fronts. Now, India, as I said, has always been very cautious not to look in the camps of any Western countries. And here, India is actually pursuing a very independent policy with the United States when it comes to its foreign policy. So, it's not in the camps of any other countries. And therefore, this probably, as I said, there are moments in diplomatic history also. For example, when you look at the communist China, which was under the Mao Zedong, and when you had Nixon actually visiting a communist China, and today we see the success of that relationship where China has leveraged it to the point of being the what I would call the manufacturing factory of the world. And India has its own strengths. Its software strength is what was predominantly seen in the United States. But it's not only that, you know, for a long time, healthcare workers from India and health professionals, highly qualified doctors, all of them have been moving to United States, and they have marked a huge presence in that system as well. So the interaction with the Indian community before the softwares and the engineers and the high tech that we are seeing today was mostly with the health professionals. And that, you know, when you're in the health professional, you actually tend to be interacting with people and leave an impression and mark on them. And that's what has happened. And that has laid the foundation for the engineers to come in. As in, you know, there is a changing perception in the United States as well about how Indians were seen from being just, health care professionals. He was your friendly neighborhood doctor. From there, it's moved to a high-tech engineer. Then you had the students who kept on going to the United States for higher studies as the intelligent students. And now there's a marked perception that says that Indians are also very good entrepreneurs. So that is what is now probably leading to the fact that when there are chances that have been put forward about this, especially when it came to the issue about a supply chain problem when COVID had struck, what we are seeing exactly over here is that this closer partnership between them that has been cultivated, and now you're going to see business entities also coming together from both the countries. We know that the potential of the US-India relationship is largely not realized because we have been sticking to just three aspects of it, that is pharmaceuticals, the IT sector, and when it comes to health. So this is three broad areas with which with the United States we have been looking at, but there have been occasional occasional trading when it comes to agricultural goods, but then we tend to be very protective about our agricultural trade as well. So is the United States. So most of the countries are. But here there is an unrealized potential. And what is this unrealized potential that we are looking at? We are talking about high-tech defense manufacturing. We are talking about materials, and then we are talking about semiconductor supplies, because when COVID hit and China went completely silent and everything just shut down, the biggest issue around the world was with regards to the availability of semiconductor chips. And semiconductor chips availability, well, it is going to be the next currency factor. As the world is dependent on oil, fossil fuel, and probably they are now changing, but still, there is a huge dependency on fossil fuel. Like that, every country will soon be dependent on a semiconductor for running even their day-to-day work. So the supply of semiconductors needs to be cautiously looked into, and its supply in the supply chain system also needs to be looked into. And that is where probably we are looking at all these probable trading that could result. So that is an unrealized potential which they are exploring right now. And let us see how it is going to go forward.
All right. Let's also listen in to what the Prime Minister had to say on President Biden. Seems like a good friend of his on President Joe Biden's journey. So let's take a look at what the PM had to say on the President Joe Biden's journey.
लगभग एक दशक पहले जब आप उपराष्ट्रपति थे तब मैं आपसे पहली बार मिला था, और आज भी मैं आप में वही कमिटमेंट, वही इंटेंसिटी देख रहा हूं.
I first met you nearly a decade ago when you were the Vice President, and I see the same commitment and intensity even today in you.
आप बोलने में सॉफ्ट है, पर एक्शन में पूरी तरह स्ट्रांग है.
You are soft spoken, but when it comes to action, you are very strong.
और मैं समझता हूं कि आपकी इस यात्रा में एक शिक्षाविद के रूप में डॉक्टर जिल बाइडेन का भी बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा है.
And I know that as an educationist, Dr. Jill Biden has made a tremendous contribution in this journey.
Mr. President, आज की शाम को और अधिक खास बनाते हैं हमारे साथ उपस्थित दोनों देशों के सभी महानुभाव, लोकतंत्र और विविधता के मूल्यों को जीवन में साकार करते ये लोग हमारी सबसे कीमती पूंजी है।
Mr. President, this evening is made special by the presence of the people of our two countries. Bringing the values of democracy and diversity to life, they are our most precious assets.
आपने जापान में हम जब बैठे थे क्वाड के समिट में, तब आपने अपना एक प्रॉब्लम मुझे कहा था और आपके लंबे सार्वजनिक जीवन के अनुभव को देखते हुए मुझे विश्वास है कि आपने उस प्रॉब्लम का समाधान कर लिया होगा और जितने लोग यहां आना चाहते थे आप उन सभी को यहां पर फिट कर पाए होंगे।
When we met in Japan for the Quad Summit, you mentioned a problem that you were facing. Well, looking at the vast experience of your long public life, I'm sure that you must have resolved that problem. I hope you were able to fit in everyone who wanted to come tonight.
आप सबको नमस्कार। आज के शानदार रात्रि भोज के आयोजन के लिए मैं प्रेसिडेंट बाइडेन के प्रति हृदय से आभार प्रकट करता हूं। मैं डॉक्टर जिल बाइडेन का विशेष रूप से आभारी हूं कि उन्होंने मेरी यात्रा को सफल बनाने के लिए निजी रूप से इतना ध्यान दिया, इतने प्रयास किए। आज के भव्य आयोजन के लिए मैं उनका हृदय से अभिनंदन करता हूं।
President Biden, First Lady Dr. Jill Biden, distinguished guests, good evening. First of all, I thank President Biden for this wonderful dinner today. My special thanks to Dr. Jill Biden for her personal efforts and attention in making my visit a success. I would also like to express my gratitude to her for the magnificent organization of today's event.
कल शाम आपने अपने घर के दरवाजे मेरे लिए खोले। इस स्पेशल जेस्चर के लिए आपकी मित्रता और गर्मजोशी भरे आदर सत्कार के लिए भी मैं आपका हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभारी हूं।
Yesterday evening, you opened the doors of your house to me. I am deeply grateful to you for this special gesture, for your friendship and warm hospitality.
President Biden, First Lady Dr. Jill Biden, यहां उपस्थित सभी अतिथिगण, आप सबको नमस्कार। आज के शानदार रात्रि भोज के आयोजन के लिए मैं प्रेसिडेंट बाइडेन के प्रति हृदय से आभार प्रकट करता हूं। मैं डॉक्टर जिल बाइडेन का विशेष रूप से आभारी हूं कि उन्होंने मेरी यात्रा को सफल बनाने के लिए निजी रूप से इतना ध्यान दिया, इतने प्रयास किए। आज के भव्य आयोजन के लिए मैं उनका हृदय से अभिनंदन करता हूं।
President Biden, First Lady Dr. Jill Biden, distinguished guests, good evening. First of all, I thank President Biden for this wonderful dinner today. My special thanks to Dr. Jill Biden for her personal efforts and attention in making my visit a success. I would also like to express my gratitude to her for the magnificent organization of today's event.
कल शाम आपने अपने घर के दरवाजे मेरे लिए खोले। इस स्पेशल जेस्चर के लिए आपकी मित्रता और गर्मजोशी भरे आदर सत्कार के लिए भी मैं आपका हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभारी हूं।
Yesterday evening, you opened the doors of your house to me. I am deeply grateful to you for this special gesture, for your friendship and warm hospitality.
मैंने देखा है कि आपकी मेहमान नवाजी से प्रभावित होकर कई बार आपके मेहमान गाना भी गाने लगते हैं। काश मुझ में भी गाने की कला होती तो मैं भी आपको कुछ सुनाता।
I know your hospitality has moved your guests to sing. I wish I too had the singing talent. I would have also sung before you all.
मिस्टर प्रेसिडेंट, आज की शाम को और अधिक खास बनाते हैं हमारे साथ उपस्थित दोनों देशों के सभी महानुभाव, लोकतंत्र और विविधता के मूल्यों को जीवन में साकार करते ये लोग हमारी सबसे कीमती पूंजी है.
Mr. President, this evening is made special by the presence of the people of our two countries. Bringing the values of democracy and diversity to life, they are our most precious assets.
आपने जापान में हम जब बैठे थे क्वाड के समिट में, तब आपने अपना एक प्रॉब्लम मुझे कहा था, और आपके लंबे सार्वजनिक जीवन के अनुभव को देखते हुए मुझे विश्वास है कि आपने उस प्रॉब्लम का समाधान कर लिया होगा और जितने लोग यहां आना चाहते थे आप उन सभी को यहां पर फिट कर पाए होंगे.
When we met in Japan for the Quad Summit, you mentioned a problem that you were facing. Well, looking at the vast experience of your long public life, I'm sure that you must have resolved that problem. I hope you were able to fit in everyone who wanted to come tonight.
विलक्षण प्रतिभाओं के धनी लोगों को आपने यहां एकत्रित किया है और निमंत्रित किया है. इसके लिए मैं आपका हृदय से अभिनंदन करता हूं. ये सभी लोग भारत अमेरिका संबंधों की अनेक विशेषताओं का प्रतिनिधित्व करते हैं. हमारी एनर्जी, हमारे डायनेमिज्म और हमारा पोटेंशियल.
You've gathered a group of exceptionally talented and remarkable people tonight. I must commend you for that. All these people symbolize so much about the India-US relations, our energy, our dynamism, and our potential.
इंडियन अमेरिकन लोगों ने अमेरिका में बहुत लंबी यात्रा तय की है. भारतीय मूल्यों, भारत के लोकतांत्रिक परंपराओं और हमारी संस्कृति के गौरव से भरे हुए इन लोगों को अमेरिका के मेल्टिंग पॉट में निरंतर मान सम्मान मिला है. भारतीय मूल के लोगों ने अमेरिका के समावेशी समाज और अर्थव्यवस्था को और मजबूत बनाने में बहुत बड़ी भूमिका निभाई है.
Indian Americans have come a long way in the US. They are proud of India's values, democratic traditions, and culture, and have always found a respectful place in America's melting pot. Indian Americans have played a significant role in further strengthening the inclusive society and economy of the US.
हॉस्पिटल हो या होटल्स, यूनिवर्सिटी हो या रिसर्च लैब, गैस स्टेशन हो या लॉजिस्टिक्स, मैनेजमेंट हो या आईटी, हर क्षेत्र में वे अपना योगदान दे रहे हैं.
Be it hospitals or hotels, universities or research labs, gas stations or logistics, management or IT, they are making their mark everywhere.
और अब तो कुछ लोग व्हाइट हाउस में भी पहुंच चुके हैं.
And now some of them are even in the White House.
जैसे जैसे समय गुजर रहा है, हमारे लोगों में और एक दूसरे के प्रति समझ और बढ़ रही है. एक दूसरे के नामों का सही उच्चारण कर पाते हैं, एक दूसरे के एक्सेंट को समझ पाते हैं. भारत में बच्चे हैलोवीन पर स्पाइडरमैन बनते हैं और अमेरिका के युवा नाटू नाटू पर डांस करते हैं.
With every passing day, Indians and Americans are getting to know each other better. We can pronounce each other's names correctly. We can understand each other's accent better. Kids in India become Spider-Man on Halloween. And America's youth is dancing to the tune of Natu Natu.
बेसबॉल की प्रसिद्धि के बीच अब अमेरिका में क्रिकेट भी पॉपुलर हो रहा है। इस साल भारत में होने वाले क्रिकेट विश्व कप में खेलने के लिए अमेरिका की टीम क्वालिफाई करने का भरपूर प्रयास कर रही है। मेरी शुभकामनाएं उनके साथ है।
Amidst the love for baseball, cricket is also getting popular in the US. The American team is trying its best to qualify for the Cricket World Cup to be held in India later this year. I wish them good luck and success.
मिस्टर प्रेसिडेंट, पिछले 5 दशकों से बदलते विश्व में उथल पुथल के बीच आप लगातार अपने देश की और पूरी मानवता की सेवा में जुटे हुए हैं। आपने हर एडवर्सिटी को स्ट्रेंथ में बदला है, हर लॉस को रिजॉल्व में बदला है और हर चैलेंज को मिशन के रूप में लिया है।
Mr. President, for over 5 decades, through all the sweeping changes in the world, you've worked hard in the service of your nation and the entire humanity. You've turned every adversity into strength, loss into resolve, challenge into a mission.
लगभग 1 दशक पहले जब आप उपराष्ट्रपति थे, तब मैं आपसे पहली बार मिला था और आज भी मैं आप में वही कमिटमेंट, वही इंटेंसिटी देख रहा हूं।
I first met you nearly a decade ago when you were the Vice President, and I see the same commitment and intensity even today in you.
आप बोलने में सॉफ्ट है, पर एक्शन में पूरी तरह स्ट्रांग है।
You are soft-spoken, but when it comes to action, you are very strong.
और मैं समझता हूं कि आपकी इस यात्रा में एक शिक्षाविद के रूप में डॉक्टर जिल बाइडेन का भी बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा है।
And I know that as an educationist, Dr. Jill Biden has made a tremendous contribution in this journey.
फ्रेंड्स, आज राष्ट्रपति बाइडेन और मैंने अनेक विषयों पर विस्तार से गहन चर्चा की। शायद हमारी टीम्स नोट्स लेते लेते भी थक गई होगी, लेकिन फिर भी ऐसा लग रहा था कि समय कम रह गया।
Friends, President Biden and I had some very wide-ranging and deep conversations today. I think our teams got tired of taking notes, and yet it felt like we were running out of time.
मैं भारत अमेरिका संबंधों के बारे में और अधिक नहीं बोलना चाहता। आज ये मेरा 5वां संबोधन है या शायद 6ठा। मैंने तो वाकई गिनना भी छोड़ दिया है।
I don't want to speak too much about India-US relations because I know this is my 5th speech for the day, or maybe it's the 6th. As you can see, I really have lost count.
मिस्टर प्रेसिडेंट, जब आपने 2014 में मेरे लिए बैंक्वेट रखा था, उस दौरान संयोग से मैं नवरात्रि के 9 दिन के मेरे फास्ट चल रहे थे। मुझे याद है आप बार बार मुझसे पूछ रहे थे कि मैं व्रत के दौरान क्या कुछ भी नहीं खाऊंगा, लेकिन मेरे लिए कुछ भी खाना संभव नहीं था। मैं कुछ खा नहीं रहा था और जिसकी वजह से आप बहुत ही कंसर्न भी थे। उस समय मुझे प्रेम से कुछ खिलाने की आपकी जो इच्छा थी, मुझे लगता है आज वो पूरी हो रही है।
Mr. President, in 2014, when you had hosted a banquet for me, at that time I was observing a 9-day religious fast. And I remember you were asking me again and again what I could eat during my fast. But it was not possible for me to eat anything, and you were quite concerned about it. Well, today I'm making up for it. All that you desired at that time with so much affection is being fulfilled today.
मैं जानता हूं मैं जानता हूं कि सभी लोग आज के स्पेशल मेनू को देखकर भोजन के लिए आतुर हैं, और डॉक्टर बाइडेन ने बहुत बारीकी से एक एक चीज की चिंता की है, लेकिन एक काम अभी बाकी है। मेरा आग्रह है कि आप सभी एक टोस्ट में मेरा साथ दें।
I know everyone is eager to have dinner. Looking at today's special menu, I know the effort made by Dr. Biden in very delicately curating today's menu. But there is one more thing left to do. Please join me in raising a toast.
A toast to our wonderful hosts, President Biden and Dr. Jill Biden. A toast to good health, prosperity, and the pursuit of happiness, to liberty, equality, and fraternity, and to the everlasting bonds of friendship between India and the United States. Cheers. Cheers. Thank you.
Enjoy your meal.
There you have it, the Ambanis, finally. Varghese, take a look at that. Not necessarily stopping by for a comment, but interesting to see the Indian power couple present there at the White House for the state dinner. We just heard the entire, speech. More funny than serious here at the state dinner, maybe trying to suit the occasion. The music, the lighting, the decor, the dresses, the costumes, everything absolutely stunning and beautiful.
Well, it's probable what I would say the grand finale to the series of events that happened during that visit, and it's from the address, the bilateral press meet, to the address to the Congress, to this dinner, the dinner which being the state dinner, a sense of for trying to bring in informalism as well, but having all the pageants and pomp associated with the diplomatic outreach that the United States has been trying to push with India. And so, it seems to be the grand finale that we would be probably looking at when it comes to the interaction between both the leaders. That is in fact Indra Nui along with person, and then we have some of these people, especially among the guests, are people who are already engaged with India, and of course Indian Americans who are present there.
Well, absolutely. Before the state dinner took place, there was that massive speech that left the entire, U.S. Congress completely awestruck. The Prime Minister gave his speech at the U.S. Congress. He spoke about the politics and the polarization, but spoke about how the nation comes as one. He was talking about India. He was saying that at every 100 kilometers, every 100 miles, that's another esteemed personality. But yeah, coming back to the point, that every 100 miles, the cuisine changes. We've got 22 official languages. We've got so many different cultures, so many different regions, so many different sensitivities, sensibilities, but we speak in one voice. That's what the Prime Minister's biggest message at the US Congress was. He spoke about the Indian American diaspora, spoke about how, we're now collaborating in the fields of quantum, AI, jet technology being transferred recently, the drones, defense, you name it, ISET, IDEX, IndesX, we're doing it all essentially.
Well, that's what I was saying. We have diplomatically been engaging with each other, but it had never translated to that economic interdependence that both the countries were probably looking at. And the United States, of course, had its own interest, and we had our own interest, and there is a little bit of history at play. But now, the economic interdependence is becoming quite valid when it comes to the fact that the United States is moving ahead or evolving itself to the next tech society, as I would call it. What is this next tech society where you're looking at AI, and it is something that would move into all aspects of our lives, and the United States is probably looking at ensuring that AI has a larger presence when it comes to governance as well, and that is something that they are in fact looking at. So I think when the Prime Minister said about AI, I think he was trying to define AI as a partnership between America and India. That's why that abbreviation when it comes to the AI factor was highly produced like that, or rather given a spin like that. So this collaboration when it comes to the next generation of technology, I think the United States is seeing a partner India where they can trust. And of course, the kind of mistrust they've had with China in the recent past is also showing up. However, that relationship is much stronger than ours, and it is about being more interdependent on it as well. So clearly, we are looking at a huge probability of this kind of. There we have, in fact, we have Sundar Pichai, and these are the actual ambassadors of India's strength in the United States. So this is what is probably we are going to see as a probable catch when it comes to the issue about deepening ties, especially economic ties with India.
Mr. Mukesh Ambani and Ms. Neeta Ambani. Mr. Anand Mahindra.
That's Sundar Pichai over there. So a lot of eminent personalities, celebrities, you know.
Satya Nadella.
Absolutely. The Ambanis, followed by Mr. Mahindra over there as well. Didn't see Elon Musk, you know, the other CEOs and business tycoons that the Prime Minister earlier met with as well?
Well, I mean, we've not known whether they're on the list or not, but the fact remains is that though these were the people who he met first, before even having the official visit to roll out, he did meet Elon Musk, and he had a meeting with the CEO of.
What about the fact that, you know, during the entire state visit, you know, is it just for pure optics that the Prime Minister is always seen in the center of the first couple of the United States?
Well, there could be a protocol that they are looking at, and probably in the protocol you have the First Lady as well as the President flanking the leader who has been on a state visit, and that has been the protocol that has been followed earlier as well when it comes to foreign dignitaries and leaders meeting the President, especially when it comes to being the head of state. So
also, Varghese, I mean, you know, it's a white kurta pajama throughout the 3 days. Any tidbits on the Prime Minister's fashion, you know? It seems like he's been wearing these waistcoats, the Nehru jackets, different colors, you know, with the right kind of pocket square to go with it. But essentially, you know, keeping the ethos of, you know,
Indianness,
the Indianness of his costume, his attire, his outfit. That's on point, isn't it?
Well, it's on point, and at the same time, the Prime Minister has always ensured that when it comes to the Indianness factor, it is always on display. It is very simple, keeping it very simple when it comes to such a huge honor, when it comes to the honor of having being invited for a state visit, and of course, it represents the way we are as a country, and it also becomes. In a way, kind of ambassadorial, if I could put it in those words as well. Let us see. I mean, you have a lot of guests also coming in Indian attire, and the Prime Minister also being very simple and very neat about it as well on the kind of attire he is in fact chosen.
I mean, because everybody is wearing, tuxedos and suits, and but nonetheless, you'd expect the Prime Minister to carry on with the Indianness, with his own Indianness. But at the same time, he's the little traditional stole that he, wore at the yoga session when he led the International Yoga Day celebrations from the United Nations headquarters. When he addressed the US Congress, he was wearing that particular Indian stole as well, that you see him addressing the public and the media back at home. That's also a little personal touch that he did not let go of, even when he was addressing the joint session of the US Congress.
Well, that is the thing about it, that where the Prime Minister was being an ambassador of Indian culture, being a part of the cultural history, and that is what I think when it comes to being on foreign land, to carry it with that confidence that you have. And of course, the Prime Minister has been, as you rightly pointed out, carrying Indian symbolism through his clothing as well.
All right then, that was all about the state dinner. We're soon going to be flooded with pictures of that moonlit, corridor from where thousands of those lanterns are going to light up the sky. Are they going to be released in the air, just like people have started doing here back at home on Diwali? Well, we'll have to wait and find out. But I can already foresee the beauty of those picturesque moments. Right before the state dinner, ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister left the joint session of the United States Congress completely awestruck. He spoke about tackling terrorism. He spoke about how this is not an era of war. He spoke about the defense ties between these two countries and the friendship between these two countries coming really close. It's the largest democracy and the oldest democracy that have joined hands, and trust and camaraderie are, it seems like, the defining principles of this particular relationship. Let's play out, some of those visuals. We saw the US congressmen take autographs and selfies with the Prime Minister earlier on as well. Take a look at that. This right after his United States Congress speech, his address to the US Congress, the joint session. The US Congress was completely in awe of the Prime Minister, and the chants of Modi Modi did not just fill up the air from St. Andrews Base till the Willard Intercontinental Hotel in Washington, from the JFK in New York. The Modi Modi chants were heard inside the Capitol building as well, from the Washington Monument, from the White House to the Capitol building. All across USA, it's just the chants of Modi Modi. What you're looking on your screens right now is various congressmen and congresswomen that are taking autographs, getting their selfies clicked with the Prime Minister, the man of the moment, the man of the hour. He's what everybody wants. Everybody wants a piece of Modi ji, don't they?
I think if you look at the entire visuals, we see how congressmen are queuing in front of Prime Minister Modi to get a signature of his on that ID card or for that invite on the Congress, and he obliging with them, and many of them also taking with their selfies and pictures with him. I think it is that what I would say, we have arrived when it comes to having a popular Indian leader to be on a world stage, and this is the second time he's addressing the US Congress, Kabir, and yes, this is the second time he's addressing the joint session of the US Congress, and of course, there are a huge number of people who are in attendance as well. And in that speech in the Congress, there were several aspects that he raised about democracy, about how democracy is in the DNA of India and the United States, and why is it important to have or multilateral institutions in the world for today's governance. So all these issues
hear the chant, hear the chant. Hear the chants of Modi, Modi. And the Prime Minister humbly, bows down. You know what, Varghese, you were talking about the pertinent points that he brought up, the issues that he wanted to speak about. And again, like I said before, there were tones of seriousness, there were tones of humor, there were tones of passion, and there were tones of inspiration as well in that particular, speech at the U.S. Congress. Let's play out the entire speech. Let's listen in to exactly what the Prime Minister said in this historic U.S. Congress. Only the first Indian ever to address the U.S. Congress 2 times. Once in 2016, that was also a revered conversation. People spoke about that address to the U.S. Congress for days on end, and now yet again the Prime Minister at this pivotal and momentous time in history, the two nations closer than ever before. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, to the United States' Congress. Let's listen in to what the man of the moment had to say.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Vice President, distinguished members of the U.S. Congress, ladies and gentlemen, Namaskar. It is always a great honor to address the United States Congress. It is an exceptional privilege to do so twice. For this honor, I extend my deepest gratitude on behalf of the 1.4 billion people of India. I see that nearly half of you were here in 2016. I feel your warmth as old friends. I can also see the enthusiasm of a new friends in the other half. I remember Senator Harry Reid, Senator John McCain, Senator Orrin Hatch, Elijah Cummings, Elsie Hastings, and others who I met here in 2016 and who are sadly no longer with us. Mr. Speaker, standing here 7 Junes ago, that is the June when Hamilton swept all the awards, I said that the hesitations of history were behind us. Now, when our era is at a crossroads, I am here to speak about our calling for this century. Through the long and widening road that we have traveled, we have made the test of friendship. A lot has changed since I came here 7 summers ago. But a lot has remained the same, like our commitment to deepen the friendship between India and the United States. In the past few years, there have been many advances in AI, artificial intelligence. At the same time, there have been even more momentous development in another AI, America and India. Mr. Speaker and distinguished members, the beauty of democracy is the constant connect with the people, to listen to them and feel their pulse. And I know this takes a lot of time, energy, effort, and travel. It is a Thursday afternoon, a fly-out day for some of you. So I am grateful for your time. I also know how busy you have been this last month. Being a citizen of a vibrant democracy, myself, I can admit one thing, Mr. Speaker, you have a tough job. I can relate to the battles of patience, persuasion, and policy. I can understand the debate of ideas and ideology. But I am delighted to see you come together today to celebrate the bond between world's two great democracies, India and the United States. Thank you. I am happy to help out. I am happy to help out whenever you need a strong bipartisan consensus. There will be and there must be a contest of ideas at home. But we must also come together as one when we speak for our nation. And you have shown that you can do it. Congratulations. Mr. Speaker, the foundation of America was inspired by the vision of a nation of equal people. Throughout your history, you embraced people from around the world, and you have made them equal partners in the American dream. There are millions here who have roots in India. Some of them sit proudly in this chamber. And there is one behind me who has made history. I am told that the Samosa caucus is now the flavor of the house. I hope it grows and brings the full diversity of Indian cuisine here. Over 2 centuries, we have inspired each other through the lives of great Americans and Indians. We pay tribute to Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. We also remember many others who work for liberty, equality, and justice. Today, I also wish to pay heartfelt tribute to one of them, Congressman John Lewis. Mr. Speaker, democracy is one of our sacred and shared values. It has evolved over a long time and taken various forms of systems. Throughout history, however, one thing has been clear. Democracy is the spirit that supports equality and dignity. Democracy is the idea that welcomes debate and discourse. Democracy is the culture that gives wings to thought and expression. India is blessed to have such values from times immemorial. In the evolution of the democratic spirit, India is the mother of democracy. Millennia ago, our oldest scripture said एकम सत विप्रा बहुधा वदंती. It means that truth is one, but the wise express it in a different ways. Now, the US is the oldest and India the largest democracy. Our partnership augurs well for the future of democracy. Together, we shall give a better future to the world and a better world to the future. Mr. Speaker, last year, India celebrated 75 years of its independence. Every milestone is important, but this one was a special. We celebrated a remarkable journey of over 75 years of freedom after 1,000 years of foreign rule in one form or another. This was not just a celebration of democracy, but also of diversity. Not just of constitution, but also of its spirit of a social empowerment. Not just of our competitiveness and cooperative federalism, but also of our essential unity and integrity. We have over 2,500 political parties. Yes, you heard that right. 2,500. About 20 different parties govern various states of India. We have 22 official languages and thousands of dialects, and yet we speak in one voice. Every 100 miles, our cuisine changes. From dosa to aloo paratha, and from Srikhand to Sandesh. We enjoy all of this. We are home to all faiths in the world, and we celebrate all of them. In India, diversity is a natural way of life. Today, the world wants to know more and more about India. I see that. Curiosity in this house too. We were honored to receive over 100 members of the US Congress in India over the last decade. Everyone wants to understand India's development, democracy, and diversity. Everyone wants to know what India is doing right and how. Among close friends, I am happy to share the same. Mr. Speaker, when I first visited the US as a Prime Minister, India was the 10th largest economy in the world. 10th. Today, India is the 5th largest economy. And India will be the 3rd largest economy soon. We are not only growing bigger, but we are also growing faster. When India grows, the whole world grows. After all, we are 1/6 of the world's population. In the last century, when India won its freedom, it inspired many other countries to free themselves from colonial rule. In this century, when India sets benchmark in growth, it will inspire many other countries to do the same. Our vision is सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास, सबका प्रयास. It means together for everyone's growth, with everyone's trust and everyone's efforts. Let me share with you how this vision is translating into action with speed and scale. We are focusing on infrastructure development. We have given nearly 40 million homes to provide shelter to over 150 million people. That is nearly 6 times the population of Australia. We run a national health insurance program that ensures free medical treatment for about 500 million people. $500 million people, that is greater than the population of South America. We took banking to the unbanked with the world's largest financial inclusion drive. Nearly 500 million people benefited. This is close to the population of North America. We have worked on building digital India. Today, there are more than 850 million smartphones and internet users in the country. This is more than the population of Europe. We protected our people with 2.2 billion doses of made in India COVID vaccines. and that too free cost. I may be running out of continent soon, so I will stop here. Distinguished members, the Vedas are one of the world's oldest scriptures. They are a great treasure of humanity composed thousands of years ago. Back then, women sages composed many verses in these Vedas. And today, in modern India, women are leading us to a better future. India's vision is not just of development which benefits women. It is of women-led development where women lead the journey of progress. A woman has risen from a humble tribal background to be our head of states. Nearly 1.5 million elected women lead us at various levels. And that is of local governments. Today, women serve our country in the Army, Navy, and Air Force. India also has the highest percentage of women airline pilots in the world. And they have also put us on Mars by leading our Mars mission. I believe that investigating in a girl child lifts up the entire family. Empowering women transforms the nation. Mr. Speaker, India is an ancient nation with a youthful population. India is known for its traditions, but the younger generation is also making a hub of technology, be it creative reels on Insta or real-time payments. Coding or quantum computing, machine learning or mobile apps, fintech or data science, the youth of India are a great example of how a society can embrace latest technology. In India, technology is not about innovation, but also about inclusion. Today, digital performance are empowering the rights and dignity of people while protecting privacy. In the last 9 years, over 1 billion people got a unique digital biometric identity connected with their bank accounts and mobile phones. This digital public infrastructure helps us reach citizens within seconds with financial assistance. 850 million people receive direct benefit financial transfers into their accounts. 3 times a year, over 100 million farmers receive assistance in their bank accounts at the click of a button. The value of such transfer has crossed $320 billion. And we have saved over $25 billion in the process. If you visit India, you will see everyone is using phones for payments, including street vendors. Last year, out of every 100 real-time digital payments in the world, 46 happened in India. Nearly 400,000 miles of optical fiber cables and cheap data have ushered in a revolution of opportunities. Farmers check weather updates. The elderly get social security payments. Students access scholarships. Doctors deliver telemedicine. Fishermen check fishing grounds, and small businesses get loans with just a tap on their phones. Mr. Speaker, a spirit of democracy, inclusion, and sustainability defines us. It also shapes our outlook to the world. India grows while being responsible about our planet. We believe, Mata Bhumihi Putro Aham Prithviya. This means the earth is our mother and we are her children. Indian culture deeply respects the environment and our planet. While becoming the fastest growing economy, we grew our solar capacity by 2,300%. Yes, you have heard right. 2,300%. We became the only G20 country to meet its Paris commitment. We made renewables account for over 40% of our energy sources, 9 years ahead of the target of 2030. But we did not stop there. At the Glasgow summit, I proposed Mission Life, lifestyle for environment. This is a way to make sustainability a true people's movement. To leave it to be the job of governments alone. By being mindful in making choices, every individual can make a positive impact. Making sustainability a mass movement, we help the world reach the net zero target faster. Our vision is pro-planet progress. Our vision is pro-planet prosperity. Our vision is pro-planet people. Mr. Speaker, we live by the motto of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, or the world is one family. Our engagement with the world is for everyone's benefit. The one sun, one world, one grid seek to join us. All is connecting the world with clean energy. One Earth, One Health is a vision for global action to bring quality health care to everyone, including animals and plants. The same spirit is also seen in the theme when we chair the G20, One Earth, One Family, One Future. We advance the spirit of unity through yoga as well. Just yesterday, the whole world came together to celebrate the International Day of Yoga. Just last week, all nations joined our proposal at the UN to build a memorial wall to honor the peacekeepers. And this year, the whole world is celebrating the International Year of Millets to promote sustainable agriculture and nutrition alike. During COVID, we delivered vaccines and medicines to over 150 countries. We reach out to others, being disasters as first responders, as we do for our own. We share our modest resources with those who need them the most. We build capabilities, not dependencies. Mr. Speaker, when I speak about India's approach to the world, the United States occupy a special place. I know. Our relations are of great importance to all of you. Every member of this Congress has a deep interest in it. When defense and aerospace in India grow, industries in the state of Washington, Arizona, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, and Pennsylvania thrive. When American companies grow, the research and development centers in India thrive. When Indians fly more, a single order for aircrafts creates more than 1 million jobs in 44 states in America. When an American phone makers invest in India, it creates an entire ecosystem of jobs and opportunities in both countries. When India and US work together on semiconductors and critical minerals, it helps the world in making supply chains more diverse, resilient, and reliable. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, we were strangers in defense cooperation at the turn of century. Now, the United States has become one of our most important defense partners. Today, India and the US are working together in space and in the seas, in science and in semiconductors, in startups and sustainability, in tech and in trade, in farming and in finance, in art and artificial intelligence, in energy and education, in healthcare and humanitarian efforts. I can go on and go on, but to sum up it, I would say the scope of our cooperation is endless. The potential of our synergies is limitless. And the chemistry in our relations is effortless. In all this, Indian Americans have played a big role. They are brilliant in every field, not just in spelling bee. With their hearts and minds, talent and skills, and the love for America and India, they have connected us. They have unlocked doors. They have shown the potential of our partnership. Mr. Speaker, distinguished members, every Indian Prime Minister and American President of the past has taken our relationship further. But our generation has to honor of taking it to greater heights. I agree with President Biden that this is a defining partnership of this country, because it serves a larger purpose. Democracy, demography, and destiny give us the purpose. One consequence of globalization has been to cover over concentration of supply chains. We will work together to diversify, decentralize, and democratize supply chains. Technology will determine the security, prosperity, and leadership in the 21st century. That is why our two countries established a new initiative for critical and emerging technologies. Our knowledge partnership will serve humanity and seek solutions to the global challenges of climate change, hunger, and health. Mr. Speaker and distinguished members, The last few years have seen deeply disruptive developments. With the Ukraine conflict, war has returned to Europe. It is causing great pain in the region. Since it involves major powers, the outcomes are severe. Countries of the global south have been particularly affected. The global order is based on the respect for the principle of the UN Charter, peaceful resolution of disputes, and respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity. As I have said directly and publicly, this is not an era of war. But it is one of dialogue and diplomacy. And we all must do what we can to stop the bloodshed and human suffering. Mr. Speaker, the dark clouds of coercion and confrontation are casting their shadow in the Indo-Pacific. The stability of the region has become one of the central concerns of our partnership. We share a vision of a free, open, and inclusive Indo-Pacific. Connected by secure seas, defined by international law, free from domination, and anchored in ASEAN centrality. A region where all nations, small and large, are free and fearless in their choices, where progress is not suffocated by an impossible burdens of debt. Where connectivity is not leveraged for strategic purposes, where all nations are lifted by the high tide of shared prosperity. Our vision does not seek to contain or exclude, but to build a cooperative region of peace and prosperity. We work through regional institutions and with our partners from within the region and beyond. Of this, Code has emerged as a major force of good for the region. Mr. Speaker, more than 2 decades after 9/11 and more than a decade after 26/11 in Mumbai, radicalism and terrorism still remain a pressing danger for the whole world. These ideologies keep taking new identity and forms, but their intentions are the same. Terrorism is an enemy of humanity, and there can be no ifs and buts in dealing with it. We must overcome all such forces sponsoring and exporting terror. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19's biggest impact was the human loss and suffering it caused. I wish to remember Congressman Ron Wright and the staff members who lost their lives to COVID. As we emerge out of the pandemic, we must give shape to a new world order. Consideration, care, and concern are the need of the hour. Giving a voice to the global south is the way forward. That is why I firmly believe that the African Union be given full membership of G20. We must revive multilateralism and reform multilateral institutions. With better resources and representation that applies to all our global institutions of governance, especially the United Nations. When the world has changed, our institutions too must change, or risk getting replaced by a world of rivalries without rules. In working for a new world order based on international law, our two countries will be at the forefront as partners. Mr. Speaker and distinguished members, today we stand at a new dawn in our relationship that will not only shape the destiny of our two nations, but also that of the world. As the young American poet Amanda Gorman has expressed, when day comes, we step out of the shade. Aflame and unafraid, the new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light if only we are brave enough to see it. Our trusted partnership is like the sun in this new dawn that will spread light all around. I am reminded of a poem that I once wrote. आसमान में सिर उठाकर घने बादलों को चीर कर रोशनी का संकल्प ले, अभी तो सूरज उगा है। अभी तो सूरज उगा है। दृढ़ निश्चय के साथ चलकर, दृढ़ निश्चय के साथ चलकर हर मुश्किल को पार कर घोर अंधेरे को मिटाते, घोर अंधेरे को मिटाने अभी तो सूरज उगा है। If I were to say it in English, it would be rising its head in the skies, piercing through the dense clouds with the promise of light. The sun had just risen, armed with a deep resolve, overcoming all the odds to dispel the forces of darkness. The sun had just risen. Mr. Speaker and distinguished members, we come from different circumstances and history, but we are united by a common vision and by a common destiny. When our partnership progresses, economic resilience increases, innovation grows, science flourishes, knowledge advances, humanity benefits, our seas and skies are safer, democracy will shine brighter, and the world will be a better place. That is the mission of our partnership. That is our calling for this century. Mr. Speaker and distinguished members, even by the high standards of our partnership, this visit is one of the great positive transformation. Together, we shall demonstrate that democracy is better and democracy deliver. I count on your continued support to the India-US partnership. When I was here in 2016, I said that our relationship is primed for a momentous future. That future is today. Thank you once again, Mr. Speaker, Madam Vice President, and the distinguished members of this honor. God bless America. Jai Hind. Long live India-US friendship. Thank you.
Well, you know, Varghese, so many optics at display in that one 1 hour long speech. He takes time to address the Samosa caucus in the White House. He takes time to address the Indian American community inside the House of Representatives. He turns back, he says, you know, this lady right here, Kamala Harris, she scripted history herself. So much that the Prime Minister spoke about, the friendship, the defense ties, but flagging terrorism was something that he, gave a little detailed attention to. Speaking about Pakistan, even in the joint statement, both the leaders, Joe Biden and Narendra Modi, have come out, coming down heavily on Pakistan, saying that they must ensure no, terror activity is launched from Pakistan's territory.
Those words in the US Congress is very pertinent to India's thought when it comes to terrorism. There are no good and bad terrorists. There are terrorists. That's it. And that's why he stressed on the word when he said that there are no ifs and buts when it comes to dealing with terrorism. Because if there is an if and a but, how some of the Pakistani generals have in fact said, or rather it is Musharraf himself who said that, one person's terrorist, another person's freedom fighter. I mean, you can't make a distinction like that. And the US, when it was in Afghanistan, tried to make that distinguishment, saying that good Taliban and bad Taliban. They try to bring that kind of a situation into it, but this stems from also the factor that there is something that a lot of countries have said there are good terrorists and bad terrorists, our terrorists and their terrorists. Terrorism is terrorism, and it is because the very cycle of terrorism is, or the very premise of it is violence, and that is something that terrorism has been projected as, and in most of the international relations and with joint statements with other countries also, there has been only one focus, and that one focus when it comes to terrorism has been to say that what India has suffered, we have brought that experience from our suffering because of terrorist attacks on our country. We have seen how terrorism has been emanating from across the border, and therefore the cross-border terrorism has been a huge issue for India. From the time of India's inception itself, the safe havens that were given in some neighborly countries, that is where we in fact see the terrorism emanating from. And this kind of a move to use terrorism as an instrument of state policy, India has challenged across all multilateral forums. Even with talks with the United States, we have in fact seen that India has harped on the fact that terrorism is something that India will not be cowed with, because we have suffered, our citizens have suffered, and that is why we keep on saying that there are no good terrorists or bad terrorists. And the way the Prime Minister has put it out is exactly what India says, that terrorism has to be dealt with, and that should be dealt with without any ifs and buts.
Absolutely, and no wonder the congressmen are lining up to take selfies, get an autograph from the Indian Prime Minister. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi also said that these ideologies keep taking new identities and forms, but their intentions are the same. Terrorism is an enemy of humanity, and there can be no ifs or buts in dealing with it. We must overcome all such forces sponsoring and exporting terror. This was a crucial part of PM Modi's 60-minute address that he gave in English in the US House of Representatives, the joint session of the United States Congress in the Capitol building. But before this historical address to the US Congress, only the first ever Indian to address the US Congress twice, there was a bilateral meeting that took place. It was a defining moment in the Indian-United States' friendship, the ties that we're trying to, the bonhomie that's growing between these two countries. I mean, this picture, that's a determined look on these two state leaders. We'll show you visuals of the bilateral meeting, them sitting, having that particular discussion. So much to talk about. Even Prime Minister Modi, at the state dinner said that, we spoke about so many things that the delegation that has come with us did not have enough time to even jot down the notes, and yet we were feeling like we were running out of time. That's how much we had on the table to speak about. What's your take on the joint statement that was given by these two leaders? We'll play out the full excerpts of what the United States President Joe Biden said, what Prime Minister Modi had to say, and a couple of crucial questions that were taken up by these two leaders as well. Together, that joint press conference is something, Joe Biden spoke about the China issue, Prime Minister Modi was hit with a human rights question as well, and how they tackled those particular questions, talking about the growth and the future of these two countries. And the Prime Minister rightly pointed out that that future is today.
Well, that future is today, because right now the United States is at a crossroad. So is India is at a crossroad. And the world is also at a crossroad. Why the United States is at a crossroad? The United States is in a peculiar situation where, some of the political pundits have been saying it's a power in decline. And probably you would see the rise of other powers that be, and some of those powers that are, of course, challenging the United States in its realm is with Russia as well as China, who are trying to push back the US influence in the world. And they were pointing out to the heights of which when the British Empire was there, just before the Second World War. So the intervening period after the First World War as well as the Second World War, when the British Empire was having that kind of global influence and probably the superpower of that day, and then you have the United States entering that phase, or a declining phase is what some of the political pundits say. But however, the United States, meanwhile, we have to say that it's a young country compared to the rest of the world when it comes to being a big power. And the United States has always worked in tandem with corporations. That is why you have a NATO. That's why you have a Quad. When it comes to net security, the United States tend to, in fact, have corporations with all the nations, and they tend to use that cooperation on economic as well as a political front to keep their influence intact. Now, another crossroad through which the United States is now at the top of researched high-tech technology that could affect daily lives. So what we are seeing is a transformation, or a tech transformation of the United States as a society itself. So when you are highlighting that, they require for that transformation to take place, which would in fact project them into the next phase of what I would call as digital industrialization. And probably we are looking at that phase where digital industrialization might, as a revolution, start from the United States itself. And with AI, robotics, and cutting-edge technology systems, the United States is looking at how it can effectively be used to keep it effectively within its citizens, and also to ensure that as the benefits that they would like to push to their citizens are also carried on a tech scheme. So India already has experience in that. We have a lot of fintech companies, we have a lot of companies that are also into AI, robotics, and we have a lot of unicorn companies that are also into all this high-tech. This is where we can leverage, and the United States sees that there's a partner country they can have it and have a relationship with, and this partner country is, of course, India. Why? Because it's a democracy. 2, it has got the rule of law. 3, it is also an open trade, open economy. So all these factors coming in, I think the United States has suddenly realized that the potential of having a huge domestic market like ours and having access to it is also important when it comes to trade ties. So combining all these things, these thresholds together are working in India's favor when it comes to the US-India relationship, because they require the kind of manpower to push their country into what I would call the digital industrialization process, and also at the same time to ensure that their society also transforms to that.
Absolutely. We were showcasing those visuals earlier of the Prime Minister, being greeted to those loud cheers of and chants of Modi, Modi inside the House of Representatives. Let's quickly listen in to some reactions coming in from various Congressmen Ben Klein, Brad Wenstrup, Vern Buchachan, Vincent Gonzalez. We also have with us a reaction coming in from August Fluger and Michael McCall. And Michael McCall, the chairman of Foreign Affairs Committee. These are certain visuals, from selfies to photographs and autographs that were taken with the Prime Minister, to reactions as well. This is what various congressmen had to say after that historic US speech.
To have the Prime Minister here. His address was one of partnership, and we are very anxious to have a continued positive, productive partnership with India, and we are so glad that he
the relationship that is very important for peace in the region, peace throughout the area, and also the capabilities that we need to enhance when it comes to trade and partnerships. And it's really, really important at this time.
I think the Prime Minister, his vision for our working relationship, trade and commerce, be able to grow both our countries. Someone that was led trade on the Republican side in Congress. I was very excited about hearing that because I think there's a lot more possibilities between the people, his people and our people here in the country to do a lot more. It was also very fascinating to hear his whole thoughts and ideas in terms of how much growth they've had, where they expect to go. So again, the whole thing on visioning, and obviously he's got enormous respect.
Well, it was a very powerful speech. It was uniting. It gave a good vision of the future of the world and the partnership that we have with India. And it was clearly the message that we wanted to hear, especially in the globally complicated times that we're living with China and Russia and other countries that we're having trouble. It's nice to know that India is a friend and that the Prime Minister came here to let us know that, and that they are an ally, and that they're the world's largest democracy, and that they're with us.
Well, I thought he gave a very nice speech, and he talked about the partnership that we have between our two countries, the challenges that we face, and how we can do much more together. And he talked about the history of our relationship, and I thought it was very effective. I thought it was a very good statement. I served in the military myself. This partnership is very important. We're facing a lot of challenges throughout the world. He mentioned the Indo-Pacific theater for us, China, and the issues that we face. And although he didn't specifically use words of escalation, he talked about the importance of it. I totally agree with him.
It was a fantastic speech talking about the unity between the United States and India on all things. First, talking about technology, all of our economic ties we have together, also our military ties that we have between the two countries, and also our joint efforts to curb the aggression from Communist China with the Quad. I thought it was a very important statement on his behalf. He also talked a little bit about the Russian invasion into Ukraine on a global stage, and how the United States and India have to stand together against aggression that threatens sovereign nations. But I think more than anything, he talked about the future and the future alliance between the United States and India, how great that's going to be. And it was a very moving speech. It was great to have all the American Indians in the gallery who were so passionate about this man. You get the sense that he is very, almost like godlike in his own country, and it was very moving. The whole experience, just very moving experience.
Also mentioned about.
So all of them saying that it was a very moving experience nonetheless. But shifting our focus here to the defining moment that we're talking about, the bilateral meet. Let's take a look at those visuals real quick. Both the state leaders, sitting there talking it out, hefty conversations that were taking place, talking about, US's place in India's scheme of things, how the world is one family. There is going to be care for environment, and both the leaders, the Indian Prime Minister and the President of the United States, answering some real hard-hitting, tough questions after that joint press conference as well. So let's listen in to what the President of the United States, Joe Biden, had to say, followed by what the Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, had to say. That joint press conference, the joint statement after the bilateral meet, that the visuals of which you are seeing right now on your screens.
Welcome, Mr. Prime Minister. Welcome back to the White House. I've long believed that the relationship between the United States and India is will be one of the defining relationships of the 21st century. Two proud nations whose love of freedom secured our independence, bound by the same words in our Constitution. First three words: we the people. The enduring ties and shared values between our people, and the shared responsibility as global leaders to tackle the great issues of our time together. It's a testament to the strong and enduring and thoroughly bipartisan support that exists all across the United States for the friendship and partnership between India and the United States that they're anxiously waiting to hear you up on Capitol Hill. A partnership that is among the most consequential in the world, that is stronger, closer, and more dynamic than any time in history. Mr. Prime Minister, we've met many times over the past few years, most recently in Hiroshima at the G7 summit, and each time I was struck by our ability to find new areas of cooperation. Together, we're unlocking the shared future of what I believe to be unlimited potential. And with this visit, we're demonstrating once more how India and the United States are collaborating on nearly every human endeavor and delivering progress across the board. From designing new ways to diagnose and treat illnesses like cancer and diabetes, to collaborating on human spaceflight, including sending an Indian astronaut to the International Space Station in 2024, to accelerating the global clean energy transition and tackling the climate crisis we face, to harnessing our shared expertise on critical and emerging technologies like quantum computing and artificial intelligence, to ensuring they are not used as tools of misinformation and oppression. We are doubling down on our cooperation to secure our semiconductor supply chains, advancing Open RAN telecommunications networks, and growing our major defense partnership with the more joint exercises, more cooperation between our defense industries, and more consultation and coordination across all domains. Our economic relationship is booming. Trade between our countries has almost doubled over the past decade to more than $191 billion, supporting tens of thousands of good jobs in both India and the United States. Add to that, 1 million American jobs across 44 states will be supported by the purchase of more than 200 American-made Boeing aircraft by that Air India is announcing earlier this year. And with this visit, Indian firms are announcing more than $2 billion in new investments in manufacturing, solar in Colorado, steel in Ohio, and optic fiber in South Carolina, and much more. Further proof that America's manufacturing is back. We're expanding educational exchanges for our students, building on the record 125,000 student visas for Indians to study in the United States we issued last year, and opening new consulates that's going to make it easier for our people to travel, work, and collaborate together. On the issues that matter most and that will define the future, our nations look to one another, including on critical regional and global issues. And today, we also talked about our shared efforts to mitigate the humanitarian tragedies unleashed by Russia's brutal war in Ukraine and to defend the core principles of the UN Charter's sovereignty and territorial integrity. We discussed our work through the Quad and how India and the United States, together with Australia and Japan, can ensure the vital Indo-Pacific region remains free, open, prosperous, and secure. Through our new I2U2 grouping with Israel and the UAE, we're building regional connections to the Middle East and spurring science-based solutions to global challenges like food security and clean energy. And this year, under India's leadership of the G20, we're putting sustainable development at the center of the agenda. We're delivering meaningful action on low and middle-income nations, including multilateral development bank reform, debt relief, and building resilient and equitable health systems. The bottom line is simple. We want people everywhere to have the opportunity to live in dignity. And let me close with this. Indians and Americans are both peoples who innovate and create, turn obstacles into opportunities, who find strength in community and family, and who cherish freedom and celebrate the democratic values of universal human rights, which face challenges around the world and in each of our countries, but which remain so vital to the success of each of our nations. press freedom, religious freedom, tolerance, diversity. India now has the most populous country, is now the most populous country in the world. It's a democracy. We understand that it is the brilliance and the backbone of our people, as diverse and talents and traditions that make us strong as a nation. It's democracies that do that. We see that so clearly here in the United States, where a vibrant Indian American community of more than 4 million strong contributes every single day to the writing of the future of our nation. Indian Americans of every background and faith, representing the full diversity of India, are pursuing their American dream while maintaining deep connections for their Indian heritage and families. That makes us all stronger. That is a cornerstone of this essential partnership between India and the United States. And that is why I know the friendship between our nations is only going to grow as we face the future together. Mr. Prime Minister, the floor is yours.
Your Excellency, राष्ट्रपति बाइडेन, दोनों देशों के डेलीगेट्स, मीडिया के साथियों, नमस्कार। सबसे पहले मैं राष्ट्रपति बाइडेन को उनके मित्रतापूर्ण शब्दों और भारत अमेरिका संबंधों के बारे में उनके सकारात्मक विचारों के लिए धन्यवाद देता हूं। फ्रेंड्स, आज का दिन भारत और अमेरिका के संबंधों के इतिहास में एक विशेष महत्व रखता है। आज की हमारी चर्चा और हमारे द्वारा लिए गए महत्वपूर्ण निर्णयों से हमारी कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव ग्लोबल स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप में एक नया अध्याय जुड़ा है। एक नई दिशा और नई ऊर्जा मिली है। फ्रेंड्स, भारत अमेरिका की व्यापार और निवेश साझेदारी दोनों देशों के लिए ही नहीं, बल्कि वैश्विक अर्थव्यवस्था के लिए भी महत्वपूर्ण है। आज अमेरिका भारत का सबसे बड़ा ट्रेड पार्टनर है। हमने निर्णय लिया है कि व्यापार से जुड़े लंबित मुद्दों को समाप्त कर नई शुरुआत की जाए। आईसेट यानी इनिशिएटिव फॉर क्रिटिकल एंड इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजी हमारे तकनीकी सहयोग के महत्वपूर्ण फ्रेमवर्क के रूप में उभरा है। आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, सेमीकंडक्टर्स, स्पेस, क्वांटम और टेलीकॉम जैसे क्षेत्रों में अपना सहयोग बढ़ाकर हम एक मजबूत और फ्यूचरिस्टिक साझेदारी की रचना कर रहे हैं। अमेरिका की माइक्रॉन, गूगल तथा एप्लाइड मटेरियल जैसी कंपनियों द्वारा भारत में निवेश करने का निर्णय इस फ्यूचरिस्टिक साझेदारी का प्रतीक है। इस यात्रा के दौरान मुझे अमेरिका के कुछ अन्य सीईओज के साथ मुलाकात करने का भी अवसर मिला। उनके साथ हुई चर्चाओं में भी मैंने भारत के प्रति उत्साह और एक सकारात्मक सोच महसूस किया। हम दोनों सहमत हैं कि हमारी स्ट्रैटेजिक टेक्नोलॉजी पार्टनरशिप को सार्थक करने में गवर्नमेंट्स, बिजनेसेस और एकेडमिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस का साथ आना बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। क्लीन एनर्जी ट्रांजिशन में भारत और अमेरिका के साझे विजन को इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए हमने कई महत्वपूर्ण इनिशिएटिव लिए हैं। इसमें ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन, विंड एनर्जी, बैटरी स्टोरेज, कार्बन कैप्चर जैसे क्षेत्र शामिल है। हमने यह भी निर्णय लिया कि वैश्विक अनिश्चितताओं के बीच भारत और अमेरिका ट्रस्टेड पार्टनर्स की तरह रिलायबल, सिक्योर और रेजिलिएंट ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन और वैल्यू चेन तैयार करेंगे। भारत और अमेरिका के बीच करीबी रक्षा सहयोग हमारे आपसी विश्वास और साझा रणनीतिक प्राथमिकताओं का प्रतीक है। पुराने समय के बायर सेलर्स रिलेशनशिप पीछे छोड़कर आज हम ट्रांसफर ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी, को डेवलपमेंट और को प्रोडक्शन की तरफ बढ़ चुके हैं। जनरल इलेक्ट्रिक द्वारा भारत में टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफर के माध्यम से इंजन बनाने का निर्णय एक लैंडमार्क एग्रीमेंट है। इससे दोनों देशों में रोजगार के नए अवसर भी खुलेंगे। यह आने वाले समय में हमारे रक्षा सहयोग को एक नया स्वरूप देगा। इस सहयोग में दोनों देशों के रक्षा उद्योग और स्टार्टअप्स महत्वपूर्ण पार्टनर्स हैं। उन्हें आपस में जोड़ना हमारे डिफेंस इंडस्ट्रियल रोडमैप का मुख्य उद्देश्य है। स्पेस साइंस और टेक्नोलॉजी में हमारा गहरा और वर्षों पुराना सहयोग रहा है। आज हमने आर्टेमिस अकॉर्ड्स में शामिल होने का निर्णय लेकर हमारे स्पेस कोऑपरेशन में एक लंबी उड़ान भरी है। संक्षेप में कहूं तो भारत और अमेरिका की साझेदारी के लिए इवन स्काई इज नॉट द लिमिट। फ्रेंड्स, हमारे संबंधों का सबसे महत्वपूर्ण स्तंभ हमारे पीपल टू पीपल टाइज है। भारतीय मूल के 40 लाख से भी ज्यादा लोग आज अमेरिका की प्रगति में महत्वपूर्ण योगदान दे रहे हैं। आज सुबह व्हाइट हाउस में इतनी बड़ी संख्या में भारतीय लोगों की उपस्थिति इस बात का प्रमाण है कि इंडियन अमेरिकन्स हमारे संबंधों की असली ताकत है। इन संबंधों को और गहरा करने के लिए हम अमेरिका द्वारा बेंगलुरु और अहमदाबाद में कॉन्सुलेट्स खोलने के निर्णय का स्वागत करते हैं। उसी तरह सिएटल में भारत का नया कॉन्सुलेट खोलेंगे। फ्रेंड्स, आज की बैठक में हमने कई क्षेत्रीय एवं वैश्विक मुद्दों पर चर्चा की। इंडो पैसिफिक में शांति और सुरक्षा यह हमारी साझा प्राथमिकता है। हम एकमत है कि इस क्षेत्र का विकास और सफलता पूरे विश्व के लिए महत्वपूर्ण है। हमने क्वाड पार्टनरशिप के साथ मिलकर इस क्षेत्र के सभी देशों के साथ अपना समन्वय बढ़ाने पर विचार साझा किए। आतंकवाद और कट्टरवाद के खिलाफ लड़ाई में भारत और अमेरिका कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर चल रहे हैं। हम सहमत हैं कि क्रॉस बॉर्डर टेररिज्म को समाप्त करने के लिए ठोस कार्रवाई आवश्यक है। कोविड महामारी और यूक्रेन संघर्ष से ग्लोबल साउथ के देश विशेष रूप से पीड़ित हुए हैं। हमारा मत है कि इन समस्याओं के समाधान के लिए सभी देशों का एकजुट होना अनिवार्य है। यूक्रेन के घटनाक्रम के शुरुआत से ही भारत ने डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी के माध्यम से इस विवाद को सुलझाने पर जोर दिया है। हम शांति की बहाली के लिए हर संभव योगदान देने के लिए पूरी तरह से तैयार है। भारत की G20 की अध्यक्षता में हम वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर उस पर बल दे रहे हैं। ग्लोबल साउथ की प्राथमिकताओं को आवाज दे रहे हैं। मैं राष्ट्रपति बाइडेन का धन्यवाद करता हूं कि उन्होंने अफ्रीका को G20 का पूर्ण सदस्य बनाने के मेरे प्रस्ताव पर समर्थन जताया है। फ्रेंड्स, हमारे सभी साझे प्रयासों का मूल मंत्र है लोकतंत्र और लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों तथा व्यवस्थाओं को सशक्त करना। विश्व के दो सबसे बड़े लोकतंत्र भारत और अमेरिका मिलकर विश्व शांति, स्थिरता, समृद्धि में महत्वपूर्ण सहयोग दे सकते हैं। मुझे विश्वास है कि इन मूल्यों के आधार पर हम दोनों देशों के लोगों की ही नहीं बल्कि पूरे विश्व की अपेक्षाओं और आकांक्षाओं को पूरा कर सकेंगे। राष्ट्रपति बाइडेन, आज की उपयोगी चर्चा के लिए मैं आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं। इस वर्ष G20 समिट के दौरान आपका भारत में स्वागत करने के लिए भारत और मैं स्वयं भी बहुत ही उत्सुक है। और जैसा राष्ट्रपति जी ने कहा, हम लोगों को मुझे जाना है बाद में कांग्रेस को एड्रेस करने के लिए, और इसलिए ज्यादा अधिक समय न लेते हुए मैं मेरी बात को विराम देता हूं। मैं फिर एक बार राष्ट्रपति का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं।
Well, the Congress is actually waiting and anxiously waiting to hear you. I'm told there are two questioners, Sabrina from the Wall Street Journal and Kumar from the Trust of India. And Sabrina, you first.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for the Prime Minister, but first a two-part question for you. Your comments at a fundraiser this week appear to be the first time in recent memory that a sitting U.S. president has called a Chinese leader a dictator. Did those comments about President Xi undermine or complicate the progress your administration has made in maintaining a relationship with China? And secondly, on India, as you raise these broader issues of human rights and democracy, what is your message to those, including some members of your own party, who say that your administration is overlooking the targeting of religious minorities and crackdown on dissent in Prime Minister Modi's country?
The answer to your first question is no. When we're talking to our allies and partners around the world, including India, we let the idea of my choosing and avoiding saying what I think is the facts with regard to the relationship with India, with China, is just not something I'm going to change very much. I think I believe that, and I've said this for some time, that the hysteria about the relationship with China is collapsing and moving, et cetera, et cetera. We had an incident that caused some confusion, you might say. But Secretary Blinken had a great trip to China. I expect to be meeting with President Xi sometime in the future, in the near term, and I don't think it's had any real consequence. And what was your second question?
So as you raise these broader issues of human rights and democracy, what is your message to those, including some members of your own party, who believe that your administration is overlooking the targeting of religious minorities and a crackdown on dissent in India?
Well, look, the Prime Minister and I had a good discussion about democratic values, and that's the nature of our relationship. We're straightforward with each other, and we respect each other. One of the fundamental reasons that I believe the U.S.-China relationship is not in the space it is in the U.S.-Indian relationship is that there's an overwhelming respect for each other because we're both democracies. And it's a common democratic character of both our countries and our people, our diversity, our culture, our open, tolerant, robust debate. And I believe that we believe in the dignity of every citizen. And it is in America's DNA, and I believe in India's DNA, that the whole world has a stake in our success, both of us, in maintaining our democracies, makes us appealing partners, and enables us to expand democratic institutions around the world. And I believe this, and I still believe this.
Mr. Prime Minister, India has long prided itself as the world's largest democracy, but there are many human rights groups who say that your government has discriminated against religious minorities and sought to silence its critics. As you stand here in the east room of the White House, where so many world leaders have made commitments to protecting democracy, what steps are you and your government willing to take to improve the rights of Muslims and other minorities in your country and to uphold free speech?
मुझे आश्चर्य हो रहा है कि आप कह रहे हैं कि लोग कहते हैं नहीं, भारत डेमोक्रेसी है। और जैसा राष्ट्रपति बाइडेन ने कहा, भारत और अमेरिका दोनों के डीएनए में लोकतंत्र है। लोकतंत्र हमारा स्पिरिट है, लोकतंत्र हमारी रगों में है, लोकतंत्र को हम जीते हैं और हमारे पूर्वजों ने उसको शब्दों में ढाला है संविधान के रूप में। और हमारी सरकार लोकतंत्र के मूलभूत मूल्यों को आधार लेकर के बने हुए संविधान के आधार पर चलती है। और हमारा संविधान और हमारी सरकार, और हमने सिद्ध किया है डेमोक्रेसी कैन डिलीवर। और जब मैं डिलीवर कहता हूं तब कास्ट, क्रीड, रिलीजन, जेंडर, किसी भी भेदभाव को वहां जगह नहीं होती है। और जब हम लोकतंत्र की बात करते हैं तब अगर ह्यूमन वैल्यूज नहीं है, ह्यूमैनिटी नहीं है, ह्यूमन राइट्स नहीं है, फिर तो वो डेमोक्रेसी है ही नहीं। और इसलिए जब आप डेमोक्रेसी कहते हैं, जब डेमोक्रेसी को स्वीकार करते हैं और जब हम डेमोक्रेसी को लेकर के जीते हैं, तब डिस्क्रिमिनेशन का कोई सवाल ही नहीं उठता है। और इसलिए भारत सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास, सबका प्रयास, उन मूलभूत सिद्धांतों को लेकर के, और इसलिए हम चलते हैं। भारत में सरकार के जो बेनिफिट्स हैं वो एक्सेस टू ऑल है, जो भी उसके हकदार हैं उन सबको मिलते हैं। इसलिए भारत के लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों में कोई भेदभाव नहीं है, न धर्म के आधार पर, न जाति के आधार पर, न उम्र के आधार पर, न भूभाग के आधार पर।
Kumar.
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir. Sir, my question is on the issue of climate change. Both countries have spoken strongly about the need to tackle the climate change, but there is a view. Both countries have spoken about the challenge of climate change, but there is a view that ambitious targets are set, but implementation is found often lacking. And there is also a criticism of lack of technological transfer, financial transfer from the developed countries to the developing nations. How do you both leaders see the way ahead on this pressing issue?
Well, first of all, I think it is the existential threat to humanity, climate change. It's the most serious problem we face as human beings. We have to keep it below 1.5 degrees Celsius. We've made enormous progress here in the United States on dealing with this issue by doing three things. Number one, by insisting that we move every one of our industries into a position where they can take advantage of cheaper and more extensive and more available renewable energy, whether it's solar or wind or hydrogen and green hydrogen. There's a whole range of things we've been working on. In addition to that, we find ourselves in a position that what we've done is that we have significantly reduced for example, I made a commitment that we are going to make sure that by 2030, 30% of all our land and sea and oceans were in conservation, could not be developed. We're well on our way to doing that, and that's also absorbing carbon from the air as a consequence of that because of the conservation. We are in a position as well that we have provided for significant increase in funding for a whole range of issues, but not just for the United States, but for the rest of the world. For example, we're working with the G7 to provide for infrastructure work for dealing with global warming in the continent of Africa. In Angola, building the largest solar project, moving ourselves, having railway to go all the way across the southern from the Atlantic Ocean to the Indian Ocean in Africa, to be able to transport and do it cheaper and do it with less, how can I say it, less carbon emissions. We're trying to work with other countries to maintain their carbon sinks so they don't have to develop them like we did in causing pollution, and we're trying to figure out how to work out to pay them not to develop certain areas like the Amazon and Brazil. But there's a lot of technology that's available that we're sharing and we share with one another. We've learned how to do solar energy, which is considerably cheaper than it is for fossil fuels. The same way dealing with not just solar, but dealing with wind. And so there's a lot of technology that we've developed, and we're well on our way, I think, to meeting the commitment we made that we made in Paris. And we're prepared to share all of that with India that has a desire to do the same.
एक्सेलेंसी, आपने सही कहा। जहां तक भारत का सवाल है, एनवायरमेंट, क्लाइमेट, ये हमारे सांस्कृतिक परंपरा में अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण स्थान है उसका। हमारे लिए एनवायरमेंट ये आर्टिकल ऑफ फेथ है, ये कन्वीनियंस के कारण करने का हमारा काम नहीं है, हम ये मानते हैं। हम एक्सप्लॉयटेशन ऑफ नेचर में विश्वास नहीं करते हैं। पूरे सृष्टि को चलाने के लिए मिल्किंग ऑफ नेचर तक तो चल सकता है, लेकिन एक्सप्लॉयटेशन ऑफ नेचर नहीं चल सकता है। हम इस पक्ष में रहे हैं और उसी के मूलभूत आधार पर भारत अपने लिए करता है, इतना ही नहीं, हम कुछ ग्लोबल इनिशिएटिव भी ले रहे हैं। आपको मालूम है, G20 देशों ने पेरिस में जो प्रॉमिस किया था, सभी G20 देशों में अकेला हिंदुस्तान है जिसने पेरिस में जो प्रॉमिस किए थे वो सारे प्रॉमिस पूरे किए हैं। इतना ही नहीं, सोलर एनर्जी के क्षेत्र में हमने ग्लासगो में रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के क्षेत्र में 500 गीगावाट का टारगेट रखा है। हमने 2030 तक भारत की रेलवे का नेट जीरो का लक्ष्य रखा है। और भारत की रेलवे कहने के बाद आपको उसका स्केल पता होना चाहिए। भारत की रेलवे का मतलब है कि हर दिन मेरे यहां रेल के डिब्बे में पूरा ऑस्ट्रेलिया होता है। इतना बड़ा मेरा देश है और वहां मैं 2030 तक रेलवे को नेट जीरो लेकर के चल रहा हूं। उसी प्रकार से जो हमने सोलर एनर्जी के टारगेट तय किए थे, हमने इथेनॉल के टारगेट तय किए थे 10% का, वो समय से पहले पूरा कर दिया। हम 20% इथेनॉल ब्लेंडिंग की दिशा में आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। हम ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन को इनिशिएट कर रहे हैं और भारत ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन हब बने, उस दिशा में हम काम कर रहे हैं। हमने दुनिया के लिए इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस, उसका हमने लॉन्च किया और आज दुनिया के कई देश उसमें भारत के साथ मिलकर के आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। हमने जो आइलैंड कंट्रीज है उनको स्पेशली सोलार के क्षेत्र में मदद करके उनको एक नया विश्वास दिया है कि हम आपकी कठिनाइयों में आपके साथ हैं। भावी किसी भी संकट के लिए हम आपकी चुनौती को पार करने के लिए हमारी जिम्मेवारियां निभाएंगे, आपको भी मदद करेंगे। हम वो देश हैं जिसने एक और नया क्षेत्र हाथ लिया है। हम देख रहे हैं कि नेचुरल कैलेमिटी के कारण आज मनुष्य मृत्यु की चर्चा तो होती है, लेकिन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का इतना नुकसान होता है जो 50-50 साल तक भरपाई नहीं हो सकता। और इसलिए ये जो क्लाइमेट चेंज के कारण जिस प्रकार का संकट आ रहा है, तो ऐसा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनना चाहिए जिसमें रेजिलियंस हो, और इसके लिए CDRI हमने एक ग्लोबल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को जन्म दिया है। और आपको पता होगा, मैंने ग्लासगो के अंदर एक विषय रखा है दुनिया के सामने, और जिसको पिछले दिनों UN सेक्रेटरी जनरल और मैंने उसको लॉन्च किया है, वो है मिशन लाइफ। और जब मैं लाइफ कहता हूं तब लाइफ स्टाइल फॉर एनवायरमेंट। हर इंडिविजुअल को प्रो क्लाइमेट, प्रो एनवायरमेंट अपना जीवन जीने का तरीका डेवलप करना होगा। इतने बड़े संकट के लिए उस दिशा में भी हम काम कर रहे हैं, और मुझे विश्वास है कि भारत ने जो आज इन क्षेत्रों में काम शुरू किया है, इसलिए नहीं कि भारत ने दुनिया के एनवायरमेंट को बुरा किया है, लेकिन हम इसलिए कर रहे हैं कि हमारी भावी पीढ़ी की हमें चिंता है। हम हमारी भावी पीढ़ी को ऐसा विश्व नहीं दे सकते हैं कि जिसके लिए उसके लिए जीना कठिन हो जाए। और इसलिए एक ग्लोबल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के रूप में भारत ने खुद ने कुछ बुरा नहीं किया है, तो भी अच्छा करने में, योगदान देने में हम अग्रिम भूमिका निभा रहे हैं, और हम आगे भी निभा रहेंगे। जहां तक समृद्ध देश हैं, लगातार चर्चा रही है, टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफर हो, फाइनेंशियल मदद हो, और धीरे धीरे विश्व भी मन बना रहा है कि जो देश इसमें करना चाहते हैं उनको टेक्नोलॉजी की मदद मिले, उनको फाइनेंशियल मदद मिले। हम प्रतीक्षा कर रहे हैं कि जितना जल्दी इस विषय में आगे बढ़ेंगे, दुनिया को इस संकट से हम जल्दी से मुक्त कर पाएंगे। धन्यवाद।
Let me add one thing to that. We have caused damage in the United States the way we developed over the last 300 years. And that's why I was able to convince my colleagues in the Congress to pass legislation, the largest climate fund ever in American and the world history, $369 billion. $369 billion to deal with the climate crisis. And we're doing it extensively now, and I think you're going to see significant progress. Thank you all very, very much.
Well, pressing issues at hand, but certainly how does United States become part of India's scheme of things? You know, a three-legged state visit of Prime Minister Modi in the United States, from that arrival ceremony, from meeting with the diaspora, the various top thought leaders, business tycoons, CEOs, from semiconductors to quantum, artificial intelligence, telecom, defense, you name it, and the oldest democracy and the largest democracy of the world have, shook their hands on it. A bilateral meet, the various military honors that were given to His Excellency Prime Minister Narendra Modi, that millet-featured state dinner, a peacock-themed state dinner, a lot of celebrities that were there. Austin Lloyd, the Defense Secretary of the United States, he's there in attendance. This particular shot, it's going to be so historic. We're going to see these pictures featured in various coffee table books and political books in the days and
maybe
time
also
to come.
in diplomatic history, it would be compared to the moment when I was always been saying, whenever we do, it could be that moment when Nixon actually went to China. It could be that probable watershed moment in international diplomacy, defining a relationship between two nations that could transform the world. That was how the US-China relationship had become, because it became the manufacturing capital of the world, and it did transform the world, and it also became a destination for tech products of the United States. A similar kind of transformation can happen with India on a multi-dimensional front, and this is no longer about terrorism, raking about of Kashmir in the UN. It's moved beyond that. It is moved much beyond
mere lip service.
Mere lip service, and also the engagement has moved much beyond it. So this is a very multi-dimensional relationship that we are looking at, and this involves not the political class anymore. It involves everyone from
Anand Mahindra, the Ambanis, the various Indian American diaspora there, Sundar Pichai over there. It has been a 3-day festival of sorts, Narendra Modi right at the center of it. We leave you with these shots of, the Prime Minister and the President of the United States engaging in a little toast at that ceremony. You can catch other, special briefings by the Ministry of External Affairs on the other live streams. And we are, of course, going to be doing a special focus show later in the evening on the Prime Minister's visit, the significance of his visit to the United States. Leaving you with these shots. That's all the time we have for you. Thanks so much for watching.
Thank you.
Live.
Enjoy your meal.
A toast to our wonderful hosts, President Biden and Dr. Jill Biden. A toast to good health, prosperity, and the pursuit of happiness, to liberty, equality, and fraternity, and to the everlasting bonds of friendship between India and the United States. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Enjoy your meal.
BrahMos, stealthy, lethal, precise. It flies at 3 times the speed of sound and cuts through a warship like a hot knife through butter. China's navy has threatened its neighbors, and they are turning to the BrahMos for protection. The warship killer. This and more streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
मैं इमरान अहमद खान नियाजी सबके दिल से हल्फ उठाता हूँ.
When Imran Khan came initially into politics, he